Hi, I'm Checky Harling and welcome to After Party, the show where I interview sustainable brand founders in their natural habitats. Today I'm joined by the footwear designer, artist and upcycled trainer queen, Helen Kirkum. Helen grew up in the southwest of England, leaving to study for her BA in footwear design at Northampton University, a course she discovered when visiting Graduate Fashion Week. Having grasped the art of making shoes using traditional techniques, Helen enrolled on the MA footwear course at the RCA and worked at Adidas for a year in Germany post-graduating. A couturier of the feet, since 2016, Helen has been building her business, centred around the three pillars of planet, process and play, cherishing imperfections and creating modern artefacts that are loved by sneakerheads and art collectors alike. Have you ever wondered what happens to your old shoes when you recycle them at a clothing bank? The lucky ones might make it to Helen's studio, collaged into new footwear fabrics, a feat of design made possible by her studio's relationship with the clothing charity Trade. When it comes to Helen Kirkum's approach to waste, no soul is left unturned, and she has more recently been making new materials out of sneaker tongues and shoelaces. In 2021, she became the recipient of the British Fashion Council's New Gen scheme, which supports new fashion talent through funding and bespoke mentoring. Her September 2022 presentation at London Fashion Week was poetically titled Palimpsest, meaning something reused or altered but still bearing visible traces of its earlier form. Her work reminds us that second-hand materials are embedded with memories, mysteries, and unknown paths travelled. As Helen puts it, this is history in remaking. Last year, the brand created pieces for Adidas, was shortlisted for the British Fashion Award as Accessories Designer of the Year, and was also Birkenstock's first artist in residence at their Shoreditch-based creative studio. When she isn't saving odd shoes from landfill, Helen can be found running community workshops, making upcycled homes for her plants in the studio, and being an all-round good egg. Welcome to the after party, Helen Kirkum.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Very happy to have you here in the studio.
Oh, nice. In North Greenwich.
Yes, here we are.
Yeah. So I wanted to take it back to your upbringing, which you grew up in the southwest of England. How was that? And how do you think it is kind of informed the way you create today?
I think for me, I wasn't in a super creative town, I guess. So I think I had to find ways to express my creativity. I think I've always been quite a studious person and I've always enjoyed doing well. Like I was very academic. I enjoyed doing well at school. And I was head girl at school. Like I feel like I have always had this kind of leadership geek thing like embedded within me. I think I like understanding things, how things are made. So my dad was a design engineer and my mum made clothes when me and my sister were growing up. So we would always have to model the clothes and she would like sell them at kind of craft fairs and things like that. So I think we always had this balance in the house between like kind of technical design and sort of thrifty, like crafty energy as well. So I think that definitely rubbed off on me. And being the younger sister, I'd always get sort of hand-me-downs. So I think those things definitely informed the way that I am now, even though at the time I wouldn't have really assumed that they would have.
Nice. And what kind of stuff was your mum making?
She had a brand called Playtime and it was really cute. She would do like a lot of things with multiple uses. So like reversible dungarees for kids. So it'd be like stripy on one side and like flowery on the other side. I remember we had these like reversible bucket hats as well.
That's quite thrifty in a way because it's like multiple ways to wear, isn't it?
And like always using like scraps and things to create like little bags and things like that. So it was definitely, there were sewing machines in the house. There was like things going on. It was very tactile. So I think I picked up on that for sure.
Amazing. And how do you think sustainability plays into all of this? Because do you think that growing up outside a big city kind of impacted the way you think about the world?
I think so. I think there wasn't that much inspiration around, so I always cared a lot about like the environment and used to like make things in the garden or like make perfumes. Did you ever used to make perfumes like out of rose petals and stuff?
Yeah, I feel like I did. Impressing flowers was a big
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. We always used to like make perfumes and then sell them to our neighbours for like 20p. And so I think like I always was interested in, nature and repurposing things, I guess. So I think that has informed me. And yeah, now just do it in a different form, I guess.
And when do you remember what kind of were some of the first things that you started making post the perfume? Like
Rose perfume. Maybe I need to make a rose perfume to just go back to my youth. The first things I started making, I think I don't know really. I think I was just always like very arty. I'd like paint a lot. I remember actually for my GCSEs, I don't know if it's not really a brag, but it's like me and a couple of my friends, we actually like petitioned for the tutors to let us do an extra GCSE. That's kind of the vibe of my childhood. Because basically we wanted to do art, textiles and resistant materials, which like woodwork and stuff. So our teacher, Mr. Taylor, who I absolutely loved, taught an after schools resistant materials GCSE, so we could do like extra design GCSEs. So I remember that like I had this kind of I was doing like CAD 3D printing. I made a whistle and I 3D printed like the mouthpiece of the whistle.
wow.
So I was doing that, and then textiles, I was like making wall hangings, and when you try and put every single technique you've ever learned like into one piece. And I feel like that's kind of what I still do now in a way. So yeah, I think I always was trying to push my creativity through as many different avenues as I could.
Amazing. And then you went on to, so that was school. So up post that, you went and studied at Northampton, didn't you? Where you did BA in footwear.
Yep.
Discovered the course at Graduate of Fashion Week.
I did, and I've just become Graduate of Fashion Week ambassador. So it's a nice, like, full circle moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally went to, so I was studying art foundation, and I was like, oh, I want to do fashion, but I didn't really know like where to go to study fashion. And I went to Graduate Fashion Week and stumbled across Northampton, which had a footwear course. I hadn't even considered like shoes was a thing that you could make. And I just remember seeing these like bronze brogues, and they were so pointy and shiny. And I thought, that encompasses everything that I'm interested in. It's kind of resistant materials, it's physics and maths, it's textiles, it's product design, it's art, like it's kind of so many things merged together in like a perfectly formed little object. So I just sort of fell in love with it, and then went to Northampton, kind of the home of British footwear design. So I think that was really important for me, because I was around like the Church's factory, Cheney's, Grenson's, all these like factories that are steeped in tradition and craftsmanship, and I think that definitely informed my practice for sure.
Yeah. And so what do you think about the kind of lost art of shoemaking? Being around those kind of businesses whilst you were at uni, do you think it's a thing?
Yeah, 100%. It's quite sad, because even now, like a lot of the footwear unis are closing their courses as well, which is really sad. And I think there definitely is we are losing this like craftsmanship of footwear. So I do find it important to advocate for it. And I think something that I was super interested in is being in Northampton. It was all about longevity of products. It's about like creating things that last out of good quality materials. And then I sort of delved a little bit deeper into the sneaker industry, and that's all about newness, fast paced, like kind of planned obsolescence, like how quick can we like churn through these products. And there's just such a disconnect between the two industries for me.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I've always been interested in, how to take that idea of longevity, craftsmanship, and care and ownership of a product and put that into the sneaker design world.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
You can really see that. And should we have a look at some of your early pieces that you created whilst you're at uni?
It actually goes with my jumper.
I love it.
Basically, got the opportunity to work with the Grenson factory, which was awesome because I love seeing how things are made on a big scale. And I think you can kind of tell from the shoot, even though it's like, I mean, it's a strange vibe, but I think you can tell what I was trying to do, because at this time, so this would have been 2014, and at that point, there wasn't really this boom in the sneaker industry that there is now within kind of lifestyle and everyday shoes. And Grenson made this sole. This was kind of one of their new like Vibram soles, and it was sort of this hybrid, like sneaker hybrid, and that was like the new thing. So, but it's still like a welted, Goodyear welted. It's still like, good quality. And then
what's welting? Because I don't know what welting is.
That's basically the stitch around the side. So it's how you could combine the sole and the upper together. It's a technique basically to put the two elements together, and it's stitched. Yeah.
So is that a good way to be able to tell whether something is a bit more handcrafted?
It's more handcrafted, but it's also it has another level of like security, let's say, rather than just being glued on. But yeah, when I was there, I was using this like reflective kind of stretch mesh and neoprene and like these sandwich meshes, and that was all very new for the factory at the time. It was kind of, they sort of hated all these materials. And even with this leather, so Northampton has a tannery. So I worked within the tannery to create like textures on the leather. And this is just hand painted on the leather. And I think even then you can see now that like I was always interested in like manipulating the materials and not just like accepting them for how they were. Like how could I change and adapt them?
I guess there's also that fusion of like the traditional with the sort of traditional tannery and the leathers.
Yeah.
But you're bringing the kind of acrylic paint. It's like, quite symbolic of your whole practice, I guess.
And even now, like I'm looking at this and it's like the left and right aren't the same.
Yeah.
I'm just discovering that like right now this second. And it's like, that's so lovely because that's basically the whole concept of what I do now. And I guess I was always onto that, but I didn't realise. But this project was cool. I think I called it How to Accidentally on Purpose Make a Mess. And I think that is literally just my ethos in life.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how was Northampton in general?
It was good. I loved it. I think I loved being like in a campus uni. I think that worked really well for me. And you had a lot of opportunities, like to have all those factories nearby and like the support from the industry. It was really good. And I think I made the most of that, which was nice. And then from Northampton, I applied for this award called Footwear Student of the Year and won that basically with this collection. So I think that was my first kind of insight into like, this is like bigger than just being a good student at Northampton. Like I can, it was like a national award. So
that's amazing.
That was nice.
Yeah. And then on to the RCA.
Yes. Next shoe.
Next shoe. So what did you want to, when you first applied, what were you thinking? What do I want to get out of an MA? Why did you choose the RCA?
So I think a few students from the year above me had gone to do the MA at RCA. So and they were ones that I like really respected and thought their work was amazing. So I was like, if they're going, like I could go. And I think this goes back to like my innate sense of just wanting to achieve things and like be good at things. And so I didn't really, to be honest, have that much of a plan. I kind of applied and I was like, if I get in, I'll go. if I don't, I won't. And then winning the Cordwainer's Footwear Student of the Year award, you win money. So then that allowed me to pay for my MA, basically.
That's amazing.
So I think without that award, I wouldn't have been able to study there. So it all just sort of like lined up. And I thought, right, well, I'll just do it then and see what happens.
So good. And so, yeah, talk us through the shoe.
So here's a shoe made from old shoes.
Amazing. Well, this is where it's all begun,
This
really.
is literally where it's all begun. And this, she is looking a little bit worse for wear now, but
How many years old is she?
Well, 2016 I would have graduated, so 9 years old now, which is wild.
Almost about to become a teenager then.
Teenager, yeah, into her terrible teens. But yeah, basically, when I was at RCA, I think I'd kind of learned how to make shoes really well, and then I was interested in how to sort of unmake them in a way. I think that I have always questioned the process of things, how things are made and why we have to do things in that way. So I was interested in like changing construction techniques, and basically started looking at sneakers because I didn't know how they were made. And I remember one of my technicians saying, oh, you don't want to make trainers, like that's not a real shoe. And for me, that always stuck with me, like what constitutes a real shoe? Like how do we define what a real shoe is?
But also in a way, like everyone's wearing sneakers
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
wearing what he would probably consider like a real shoe.
yeah.
So it's an interesting kind of tension.
Oh, 100%. And I think that is like, for me, there's something about a shoe that, I mean, it has a purpose. It's not like another item of clothing that you could maybe just add as like an accessory. Like your shoes like have a real fundamental purpose in like your daily life. So I think that idea of how to extract and like expand what a shoe can be, but always having that narrative and that like purpose that it has to be wearable, it has to be comfy, and yeah, just started basically playing around with the trainers and
Deconstructing them.
basically because I didn't know how they were made. So I took them apart. That's the easiest way to find out how something's made. And then just started playing around with construction methods and like building things on the last. So usually with a shoe, you would have like a flat pattern and then you assemble it and make it 3D in the end. Whereas I was interested in, can I build it in 3D as it is a 3D object? Why am I building it flat?
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of what started happening here. And I started like adding things onto the last. So as you can see here.
And this is a shoe last.
This is a shoe last.
Seen a shoe last before.
So a shoe last is basically well, we've got the whole demonstration here. So basically last is like a shoe shape. And then usually what you would do is you would tape up the last, you would get a flat pattern off that, and then you would build your flat pattern. But for me, I was really interested in, can I start like sticking things on? Look at this live demonstration, guys. Like my thought process was instead of creating a flat pattern, like especially when you deconstruct things, you have all these interesting shapes. So can you actually start to build things like in a more interesting way rather than in the way that like you would expect, basically.
It's like collage in a way.
Yeah, I think that is like, you know, it is kind of a 3D collage. That's how I create my work. And I think it's how I can get unusual silhouettes that people wouldn't expect.
Yeah. And like layers, it's all layered, isn't it?
Yeah, so many layers. And a lot of it is about colour, texture, shape. And I think that those things are informed by the materials that I collect.
Yeah.
So whereas most of the time, like if you were going to make a shoe, you would be like, oh, I'm going to make like an orange leather shoe. Let me go and buy some orange leather.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'll literally look in these drawers and be like, oh, what have I got? Okay, I've got these 3 pieces. How do they go together? What are the shapes? How do you layer them?
Yeah.
And you can just build something in a much more authentic way, I think. Yes.
Should we have a look at, you know, how you build that?
Yeah. Here she is. So basically, I came up with a construction technique where I think from my MA, where I was building on the last, creating these really organic shapes, the main feedback that people love to give me is, how are you going to scale? And so I kind of did a lot of research and kind of R&D into how could I actually scale post-consumer waste into a production material. So basically we developed essentially our collage sneaker leather, which is like this, where we build a collage onto a material, and then from that material we can cut it out and make a shoe.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then we do everything in colours. So the colours of our collections always depend on what we find in the recycling centres. So it's really, it's informed by different trends instead of the trends of what's really, of like, I don't know, instead of like predicted trends, it's like real trends of like what people are
Actually
wearing and throwing away.
Yeah.
So that's how we make our fabric. And then we developed some shoelace one as well.
Yeah, that's more recent, isn't it?
That is more recent.
Yeah.
Yes. And that really came from the fact that we were using like the leather, the suede. We also developed a mesh. But obviously when we're collecting shoes, we're getting shoelaces, we're getting tongues, we're getting other materials that we weren't using in our primary collage sneaker leathers. So we started to think about how we could utilize our own waste streams and start to make new fabrics. And that's where our woven shoelaces came in, and our quilted tongue.
We could have a look at the shoelace bag as well.
Let's have a look at that. So there's a bag made from shoelaces.
Absolutely love this.
Gorgeous. This is also our bag charms, which we sell.
They remind me of Scooby-Doo's. That
Yeah,
one.
it is a Scooby. This goes back to my
That's my
school
youth. Yeah.
geek days. And one of my friends used to sell these for 50p. So I've been an entrepreneur since day one because I worked in his Scooby making entrepreneurship business.
Love it.
And helped him make some Scoobies to sell.
Love it. Love the Scooby.
And I think the ones that were swirly, do you remember the ones that like went like that?
Yeah.
They were £2.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, those were tricky to make.
Yeah, they were. We developed these bag charm kits and shoe charm kits because, again, it was another waste stream. So we've got the laces waste stream, we've got the sneaker tongues, and then we had a lot of like these hardware, like plastic components.
Those are really cool. So they've come off trainers.
Yeah, so that's like Skechers, that's like Air Max 1.
So cool.
Reebok.
Especially the ones that are like metal, like those
the metal and like the plastic ones. And so basically we were ending up with all these like little components that are really nice. And I think because of this kind of charms trend that's going on, all the charms are basically made from virgin plastic.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if we could add like a personality to our sneakers without adding extra waste? Like we can just use what we already have. So we developed these charm kits where basically you can like
so good
jazz up your shoe or your
shoe or your bag. Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
And that's quite a recent thing that you started.
That's recent, isn't it? Yeah. We launched those last year and they've been really successful actually, which has been great.
Amazing.
Fun.
Yeah.
I think as a tactile person, I think a lot of my work is
quite feely,
like tactile element, and it's just comforting. Like when you're I don't know, I always take this bag with me on to events, and like sometimes it's just nice to be like,
exactly. Yeah. A bit of like a comfort blanket.
It is, literally.
But yeah, I feel like that's a good segue into your sourcing process, which we've not talked about yet.
Yes.
So you started by working with trade, right? So can you talk a little bit about that and their single shoe bundles?
Yeah, so, well, this kind of came from RCA as well, because I hijacked a textiles trip to trade. And one of my tutors was like, oh, you should go on that. I feel like you love like old stuff. I was like, yeah, great, I'll go. And sort of went down to the trade warehouse, which is in Wembley. And I was really expecting, I think I took like a tote bag or something. And I was like, oh, they might have a few old shoes that I could just take back. And then I got there and they literally had like mountains of specifically single shoes. And so Jose, who like runs the warehouse down there, was explaining to me that quite often the shoes, even if you donate your shoes with the best will in the world, they'll end up odd because you want to like tie the laces together or secure the pairs together, and that will mean they'll have the best chance of like being kind of recycled or reused together. Whereas if they become separate, you know, they go in a van, they go in another van, they go in a lorry, they tumble out onto the kind of belt, and then it's really difficult for the guys on the line to be like, oh, I think I saw the other one of those like 5 minutes ago. You know, that's not, they're not able to do that.
Keeping track of one shoe in the recycling process.
Yeah. So they had a lot of singles, and I thought, well, this is a raw material that I could utilise. So that's how I started doing that.
Yeah, it's almost like a love story, isn't it? Two shoes that have become like separated.
I know, yeah, they do. And then sometimes we find the pairs, but otherwise we'll just use them single. And then, yeah, we basically clean them, deconstruct everything down to its component pieces, and then build that material. And that allows us to kind of like repair the shoes, I guess.
Yeah. And when you went to the trade warehouse, were you like shocked at the amount of like waste that there was?
Yeah, I think it is gives you quite a stark like realization that there, you know, that's just one warehouse in like the north of London, and there's so many all over the UK. And just to see what comes through there, it sort of does make you realize that, you know, we just like throw away a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's definitely an issue with especially end of life shoes because they're hard to recycle because they have so many component parts. So for us, what I feel is important is if we can divert that waste stream and kind of celebrate it in some way and show that, you know, maybe like what we're doing is not like the perfect solution, but it's more like posing a question about like the
sort of provoking the system in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And hoping that we can just help inspire other people to do similar things, I guess.
Amazing. And what do you think, in terms of just like the average person listening to this, what advice would you give them if they want to kind of recycle their shoes as ethically as possible? Obviously, tying the laces together is a big thing.
If you do donate them to, you know, like a charity shop or charity bin, definitely secure them together as a pair. But also only donate them if they're actually good quality, because the amount of shoes that we see going through, you know, those charity donations that are like falling apart, the soles are fallen off, they've got like, I don't know, they're just completely like in so many holes, like in tatters. It would be helpful, I think, for the system if the shoes that were donated were already good quality, clean, things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing you can do is just repair and look after your shoes for as long as you can. Because so often the shoes that we see come through, they're perfectly good condition. There's literally nothing wrong with them. Or there'll be one thing like the lining, the heel back of the lining will be torn.
Yeah.
Or the sole will be worn.
That's sort of the first thing that goes, the lining, isn't it, in a way.
So it's just about, seeing how you can repair and like look after your own products. And a lot of cobblers, like a lot of local cobblers, repair sneakers as well now.
I was about to say, you can get trainers resold, can't you?
Because they've realised it's a big market and it's there's a lot of problems with them.
Yeah. And do you know Sneakers ER? No, they're like a repair service for trainers and cleaning. Nice. So you can go to them.
Yeah, and there's another really nice app called
Creptician,
yeah, and they're really good because they promote not only repair but also kind of customization and other ways that you could promote like the longevity of your
Yeah.
product. I think for me, that's what I always find really inspiring. If somebody sort of reaches out to me and says like, oh, you know, I didn't throw my shoes away, I cut a bit off, stuck a bit on, you know, like customized it in some way and inspired by your work. I think that always feels like, you know, a really good win and like we're doing something good in the world.
I just feel like because people, they just don't value their things, do they? So a lot of people don't see the point in repairing or getting things resold because
I think
maybe they didn't spend that much on the shoes in the first place.
I think that's the problem. It's not that I don't think it's our fault necessarily that we don't value our products. It's like how society has made us care about fashion. Like it's very fast paced, it's cheap, and you know, repair can be expensive. And I think that, and also buying good quality products can sometimes be expensive. So I think that we have been pushed into this system where it's easier to throw something away and buy something new than it is to like look after a product. So I always, you know, try and encourage like that way of thinking, but it's also, I don't think it's our fault that we've got to this place. So it's now just like what can we do next? How can we start thinking about like the way we consume things in a different way, and how can we just take a bit of like ownership back of the things that we own, I think.
And reverse what we've been told, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, so you still work with trade, but you also work with sportswear brands and upcycle their kind of like faulty items. What does your kind of complete picture of your sourcing process look like now?
So trade is definitely our main source for our ready-to-wear line. So that's all like our palimpsest sneakers, our bags, everything like that comes through the single shoes that we get from trade. We do also work with Salvation Army sometimes, Royal Trinity Hospice, a couple of other places where we can get single shoes from as well. But then, yeah, the collaboration side of things is where we'll maybe use like dead stock from other brands. So that will usually be specific to what project we have on. So for example, with Asics, we worked with some of their like faulty returns, things like that, to give them a new life. So it's kind of project by project, basically, what brand products we'll work with.
Amazing.
So this one is like this was a really cool collaborative project that we did with Asics, and this was, so basically the pink layer on here was some customer returns. So we took the customer returns and kind of deconstructed them and then embellished them over their dead stock products to make a new shoe.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very cute. This is the only one I've got left. It's so small, it's size 3, I can't even wear it. But
what size are you?
It looks good on a shelf. Size 7.
Size 7, yeah.
Yeah, which is always really annoying when you work in the shoe industry because women's samples are a 5 and men's samples are an 8 and you're in between.
Oh, that's so annoying, isn't it?
So that's why I have to make my own.
Yeah. And then on the topic of big brands, you did work at Adidas for a year, didn't you, before starting your own brand? So how was that, and what do you think you learned from being at a brand like Adidas that you've applied?
I think for me, I mean, it was an amazing experience being like in-house at such a global brand. I think I really just understood the scale of like this industry and what the amount of products that are produced. So that was definitely an interesting transition, because I went straight from Royal College of Art there. So I went from being like extremely arty and sort of faffing about with like shoelaces to this very like structured way of working. But yeah, I definitely think it was really useful for me to be in-house somewhere like that. And yeah, there was just something inside me that was like, I feel like I started something with my MA and it wasn't finished.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to leave and kind of said to myself, like, oh, I'll give it a year and see how it goes. And that was like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's still going.
Exactly. And yeah, still on the topic of big brands, but with other designers who'd be keen to work with like dead stock and all the sort of partnerships that you have, what advice would you have for them?
There's a lot of waste out there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of raw materials to use. So I think never be discouraged that you feel like, I don't know, it's done, or like it's somebody's, already doing it. Because I think the cool thing about all the sustainability, I don't really like the word sustainability, but like that industry, is that we all have a common goal to kind of save the planet. So I think that there feels to me anyway, like there's less competition within this industry. It feels much more friendly, and everyone's kind of, got this common goal. So I think the more the merrier to kind of get involved. So I think just go for it. For me, like with deconstructing shoes or sneakers, I just started just to see how they were made, and then that led me through designing, through making, to this process that I have now. So I think just be curious and see what material you can find, and let the material guide you, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of upcyclists, that's like their mantra in a way.
Yeah.
I've noticed that as like a common thread with a lot of people that I've interviewed.
Yeah, 100%, because I think you have to. It's a very different way of designing. Like you're kind of taught through like traditional design education to, come up with an idea, come up with a design, and then retrofit your materials, colors, and everything else to fit what you have thought of in your head. Yeah. Whereas I think with upcycling, it's the opposite way around. It's like material first. It's like, these are your materials. How are they going to inspire you? Which I find really useful. I think whenever I work with brands and they're like, oh, we've got dead stock material on a roll, I'm like, oh no, I don't want a roll of material. I don't know what to do with that. Like, give me like a kind of,
give me some
pathetic
scraps.
like little piece like this, and I'll find something interesting to do with it. But like, I think that, when you've got like shapes, colors, textures, branding, you've got all these things to inform you, you can start to build something interesting. Well, I can anyway. Whereas I feel like, having a roll of material, that feels overwhelming to me.
Yeah. But after you've built the like collage sneaker leather, do you have a pattern?
Yeah, with our palimpsest sneaker, I think we did have to combine traditional ways of making with our kind of new modern materials, because right now we are fitting into a system that already exists. So we need to work with pre-existing sneaker factories. They need to understand what we're trying to do. So I think trying to approach them with something like this and being like, oh yeah, we just built it on the last, they would run for the hills.
Okay, yeah.
So I think I had to kind of come up with a method where we can use traditional ways of thinking, but implement our materials to kind of change things up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is basically built on a flat pattern, essentially. Okay. But then like the left and right will always be different because of the way that the material is structured.
Okay, amazing. That makes sense. Okay. So I guess, I had a question about like, what would you say is the difference between like your artisanal pieces and your ready-to-wear line? And is the difference that one is built on a flat pattern?
I would say the difference is there's not less decisions that go into this, because obviously all the decisions went into this early doors, but then we had to take away some responsibility of the end result. So the material informs the final design of the shoe. So for example, like we can design the fabric, but actually how the factory have cut it and the fact that there's a stitch here and a stitch here, that's not designed by us. That's kind of designed by the factory in a way. So I think that's the main difference. Whereas on a bespoke shoe, we will place every single component to make it one of one. So they're all bespoke, just in different ways.
Different ways.
Whereas, so this is a bespoke shoe, for example. This is quite an old one. But here we would have designed the way that all the pieces land. So we've placed the components in that way to kind of flow like that around the shoe. So that's the main difference, I would say.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
And should we talk about like this whole idea of past lives and like palimpsest, which was the title of your September 2022 collection, I believe, and has become the name for your ready-to-wear sneaker.
Yes. I think for me, like the word palimpsest, I found it really interesting. And I actually first heard of the word when I was studying at RCA. One of the PhD students, Helen, her project was around shoes as palimpsests and like how shoes carry meanings and lives within them. And I always thought that was just like so beautiful and really inspiring. And so when I started creating this shoe, it just felt like a really fitting name because it felt like it is something reused, but something that we recognize. And the more I researched the word, I also found out that a palimpsest was also like a kind of ancient scroll that was made of leather. And
Oh, wow.
basically you would like write, I think, like commandments on the scroll, and then they would leave the scroll out in the sun to bleach all the writing off, and then use it again. So it'd have all these layers of like meanings, memories on like a leather skin. So it just felt like it had like multiple meanings that resonated with me. And I think I am quite an emotional designer. You know, I care about the meaning of products, and I care about like our interaction with products, I think.
Yeah.
So that, that like livelihood to the material is what I found really interesting.
Yeah, it's really poetic, and I feel like it works just like so well
Thanks.
with your work.
Yeah, it definitely, I think also with our bespoke sneakers, we basically take people's old shoes, cut them up, and then redesign them. And with that is incredibly emotional and personal, because a customer might send us like their wedding shoes, or like their first ever basketball shoes, or we had one recently and it was like their tennis shoes that they'd won a competition with when they were young, or like those sort of things. So it's like shoes that have such like a sentimental value, but you don't wear them anymore. So that always feels like a lot of pressure, but it's also so beautiful because you can take all those memories for somebody and combine them back all together and give them this sort of vessel that like encapsulates like their life through shoes in a way.
Yeah, that's really emotional.
So yeah, I love that stuff.
It reminds me a bit of the repair shop, obviously like a bit of a cooler way.
I definitely think that, you know, there's something with a shoe especially that's like, it does carry so much meaning, like it takes you on like a physical journey throughout your life. But I think there's something with sneakers, and this is what I found when I was doing my MA as well, that even when it's like battered and falling apart, like people don't want to part with it.
No.
There's something sort of sentimental attachment, which you don't really get with many other items of clothing, like maybe jackets as well, but like maybe jeans, like any of those materials that kind of they carry a bit of weight to them, I guess. But that's another thing that we've lost through the speed of fashion. I think that kind of innate like sentimentality with products.
Yeah. So last year you collaborated with Adidas on a shoe. Should we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, here it is, also on my foot. But yeah, this was a really cool project for me because I think, especially coming from working in-house at Adidas, to collaborating with them now for a second time, it feels, it's just really cool. And I love this shoe. So this is a shoe that they already produced called the Averin, and we put our own spin on it. And we worked with stock materials. So this is like engineered mesh material that we could access, and then even like these woven labels as well. They're like stock woven Adidas labels. So we tried to like utilize as many pre-existing materials as we could to create this silhouette. And another cool thing that we added is this flash. So because I love trying to get people closer to the process of making, to understand more inherently like how products are made and feel more connection to them, I guess. And one of the cool things is this this sort of fringe around the edge, because when you make a shoe, basically this would have gone into a mold, and the mold will squash the material, and then the material will like squeeze out of the edge of the mold. So usually on most of your shoes, this is an exercise everyone can do at home, you can have a look on your shoe and there'll be like seam almost around the edge, and that will be where the factory have like meticulously cut this off perfectly and beautifully. And this was something that I discovered on my first collaboration with Adidas. We made a campus, which is cool because each one again was slightly different. It had that like bespoke element to it because of the way that the stock mesh would be placed on each shoe, because it wasn't necessarily intended for this shoe in the first place. So that was really cool. And then anybody that knows the first collaboration I did with Adidas Campus, we did this thing where we included this kind of flash around the edge of the shoe. So we wanted to continue this on this product. So usually the factory will like beautifully cut this off. But I love connecting people with the process of making things. So for me, it was important to keep it on. So yeah, anyone that knows the Campus shoe they'll see that this exists on that shoe as well. And it's a cool thing to look at. Like if you look at any shoe that you have, you'll see such a bad example. Not any shoe that you have, but some shoes. You'll basically see that, so I don't know if you can see like there.
Yeah, I can see
there's
that.
like a lip. So that would have been where the material would have squirted and they would have cut that off.
Yeah. What do they cut that off with?
Just like with a hot knife.
Okay. Like a Stanley knife type thing?
Yeah, it's like it's like a hot knife on a string.
Okay. So weird to visualise.
I know. And I remember when I was in the factory, not for this collaboration, but the Campus one, and I saw the ladies in the factory doing it so perfectly. And I was kind of like, could you do that a bit wonky? Can you like what? And they were just like horrified. I know we can't do it wonky. Like we've trained to do it perfectly. But yeah, I just love the idea of like just showing a little bit of that process that you don't usually get to see.
Yeah.
So that's my shoe.
Gorgeous. Thanks. And I love that like you're saying do it wonky, and like I feel like there's this running theme of like imperfections in your work. What do you love about things being slightly imperfect?
Imperfection is human, and I think that feels sometimes with sneakers especially, they're so like white and shiny on the shelf, and they're kind of like devoid of any act of making. And I think having this like humanness, having something that's a bit wrong, or like even like with palimpsest, like the left and right are different. You've got stitches in there. You've got a lot of, it just adds personality, I think, to the product. I think for me, I always like something, a bit dirty, a bit creased, a bit like, just that feels like a human touched it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think especially, these days, like we can find that everything is so cookie cutter and so processed. So to have something that just feels a little bit more personalized, I think is what I like about
Yeah.
it.
And I feel like with sneakers, there's such this idea of like box fresh. And like your work is so anti box fresh in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely an advocate of wearing your product. I think for us, the things that we make kind of celebrate the process of wearing something. And that's, so I'm a big believer in like using and wearing the products. It's actually something that my partner always says that he's shocked by, because I don't know, like if I get a sticker, I'll stick it on something straight away, or like I'll get like, I don't know, a fancy candle, I'll burn it. I think like so many people kind of feel so precious about those things, but I like just to use something for its intended purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
Use it, enjoy it, and then it's gone.
Exactly. And then alongside doing that last year, you were also Birkenstock's first artist in residence. Can you talk us a bit about your residency there?
Yeah, that was so fun because it was something quite new for them as well. But I love Birkenstock because I think, the quality of materials and they're all, made in Europe in their factory in Germany. And so it was really exciting to kind of investigate a different product. And yeah, I did a lot of workshops down there in their space in Shoreditch. And it was a really nice opportunity to just bring the community together, sort of bring my community into that space and work with a different material. And we made this sort of giant beanbag. And it was all made from Birkenstock offcuts. And it was a really cool community project because everybody had a hand in like creating this product that now like lives in that space. So yeah, it was definitely a cool thing to be part of. And I think that that community aspect of like bringing people together is something that I like really believe in.
Yeah. And on that topic, should we talk about what I'm wearing and your
yes.
collaboration with the other
Yeah.
designer from the RCA?
Yeah, so it was with a really good friend of mine called Kirsty Els, and her brand is just called Els. And basically, she made this jacket for us, which is amazing. So it's like a workwear jacket, all made from obviously upcycled sneakers. But we really wanted to incorporate really interesting elements. So even like the toggles there, that's like from an Air Max 1. And then you've got like your Jordan toggles to kind of connect the jacket. So we tried to use sneaker elements within the design of the jacket. Even the arms are laced on with shoelaces.
Oh, so cool.
So yeah, it was a really, really good one. And I think it's an amazing way to showcase the material because sometimes in a shoe, it can get very small. Another good example would be we launched some bags the last few years. And
those are amazing.
Off you go.
Yeah, exactly. I think put a shoe on as well.
Put a shoe on.
It'd be perfect.
You're ready to go.
I love the bag.
But it's another way of like really showcasing the material and creating this completely one-of-one product. And yeah, so it's really nice to do a few bigger things.
Yeah. To really show it off.
To show it off, yeah. So there you go.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
And should we touch on the sneaker tongue bag as well?
Yes, while we're on the bag. God, I've got so many shoes
On the
down
bag,
here on the floor. Love these. So I use one of these literally every single day and wear it everywhere. It's just so practical. And it's essentially just a big like kind of bucket crossbody bag. But we developed this material again because it was one of our waste streams. So a lot of leather shoes have a mesh tongue lining. So we'd use all the leather for our leather products, but then we would have all these mesh tongue linings left that we didn't have a place for. So we essentially, again, were informed by the material. We're like, what can we create from this material? So we decided to create a kind of quilting technique to create this like quilted crossbody. And then again, the material informed the design. We're like, what does this work for? It works for something squishy. It works for something practical, something comfy. So that's what we made.
I absolutely love it.
I know, it's
great.
so nice. Such nice
And
colours.
it's nice to find a use for the labels as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just really cool because it shows... I mean, I love an infographic anyway. I think even from my MA, I was putting infographics on the outside of shoes, like from very early days. But I think it gives this very like sneakery element, but in a different way, I guess. Yeah, it's very cool. And then we added our own one. So this is our Helen Kirkum one.
Cute.
So this actually tells you about the product.
That's amazing.
Then on our shoe as well, on our palimpsest, what I think is super cool is our insole. On our insole, we have like this infographic that explains the production of the shoe.
Okay.
And so for me, I found it really important to, I'm just checking this is the right one. Yeah. I think it's a bit worn off there, but I can explain it. But
That's
basically,
really cool.
I was thinking, you know, with this product, if you know nothing about the brand, know nothing about who I am, and you just see one shoe on a shelf, how can you know something more about this shoe? So here it kind of says First Life, Helen Kirkum, and then it goes through Wembley, which is where we collect the shoe, North Greenwich, which is here, to Porto, where the shoe gets made, to its next life. So it kind of like explains just a little bit more. Again, it's this idea of like connecting people closer to what they own, I guess.
That's amazing. I love that. Like a little snippet of storytelling.
Yeah. I love a good Easter egg.
Yeah. And we haven't actually touched on your factory. Should we touch on Portugal? Because obviously that's a really kind of like a historic place where shoes have been made, isn't it?
Yeah, for us, they're really good at making sneakers, basically. And we have an incredible factory out there, like small family-run factory. And Diogo, who's our kind of point of call out there, he's very considerate of what we do and the materials and the way that we work. And I think for us, I mean, for developing the brand, the most important thing is to find good partners that like will kind of respect your process and will give it a go, because it's complicated. You know, for a lot of people, you know, our products are complicated. We make small production quantities and we don't have a big budget. So it's like, for a lot of factories, that's like a cold hard no, like that's not
like
interesting.
red flag.
Yeah, so we are a bit of a red flag in that way. But I think when you find people that believe in the vision and can see the growth of the business, that's been fundamental to us actually getting the shoe off the ground.
Amazing.
And there she is.
There she is, the ready to wear.
Ready to wear shoe.
So yeah, we touched on Birkenstock, didn't we? And like workshops, which has also become like I guess another thing that you do. Why is that important to you in terms of like, I guess, passing on your knowledge to the wider ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that workshops are just such an engaging way to understand products, process, and also work with your hands. I think in our society, we don't really get that many opportunities anymore to like create something physical with our hands. So I think for me, I'm really interested in kind of creating these design workshops that allow people to just discover their creativity in a different way and through different materials. So we offer a workshop called Sneaker Sculptures, which is like an instant access workshop from our website. And in that one, people can basically make shoes with their household waste and recycling. So it's like you take like cereal boxes, your like tea bag boxes and bottle tops, whatever it is. And it kind of, the workshop allows you to think about design concepts in a completely different way and just like open your eyes to different ways of making. And you don't always have to, you know, be staring at a blank like sketchbook and be like, I don't know how to start. Just grab some materials and start kind of crafting things with your hands, and you'll find that your hands know what to do. So yeah, I really love teaching workshops. And actually this year, one of our goals for this year is to have a lot more workshops in the studio. So watch this space.
Watch this
Sign up for our
space.
newsletter and you'll find out.
Amazing. And when you were starting out in this space, was there anyone that you sort of really looked up to or who kind of helped you on your journey? Because I feel like the sustainable fashion industry is almost like a separate like beast in a way. And it's a supportive space.
Yeah, 100%. I think people like Christopher Rayburn was always like, you know, on my mood boards when I was at uni. I think he was definitely trailblazing this kind of upcycling movement long before anyone else. And he's been a really good support to me, you know, throughout my career, which I really appreciate. And then sort of as you move into the industry, people like Ursula de Castro, like she is an incredible support of what I do as well. So I think that there's, you sort of find your tribe, and you find people that, that understand what you're trying to do, and then just like latch onto them for dear life. I'm like, help me. So yeah, I really do believe that this industry can be supportive if you find the right people. And I think going back to the workshops and things like that's what I'm trying to do now. We're all at different levels within our businesses, and the people that I look up to people, and I also know that people look up to me. So it's like, how can I support the younger generation to, keep going, because, it's so important what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. And a few years ago, you also received like the support from New Gen. So for people who don't know New Gen, could you talk to us a bit about the programme and the support that you received through that?
Yeah, that was so good because so the British Fashion Council basically have a scheme called New Gen, which supports new designers, young designers in the UK. And I was really fortunate to be awarded New Gen 3 years in a row. And that really helps you to just get on the kind of fashion week scene and to be discovered by, buyers and press. And yeah, my first collection with New Gen, I mean, I didn't have anything ready to wear. I literally showed like 8 bespoke sneakers, and it was very different to maybe what they're used to showing. So I was really proud that they sort of took a chance on me and saw something interesting in what I was doing. But it's really through the New Gen scheme that I developed any ready-to-wear products, because I think without that push, I maybe would have stayed more in like the artistic space and not moved so much into the fashion world. So yeah, it's so helpful to me, and yeah, definitely just a cool thing to do, like show at Fashion Week. And I went to Milan as well with London showrooms, and Paris. So I think it just gave me a lot of exposure and just an insight into how this industry works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the subject of the British Fashion Council, last year you were nominated for Accessories Designer of the Year. Congratulations. How was that experience? And also, what did you wear to the event?
Yes. Well, actually, I was very stressed with what to wear because I'm not that good at like looking smart. Like, I'm quite a casual girly. So yeah, but I was very excited to be nominated amongst some other amazing designers as well, for Accessory Designer of the Year. And even though we didn't win, I think it felt amazing to be on that like global stage and to show that creating a product in a completely different way and kind of showcasing that is possible, and it can be done, and it can be scaled as well. So yeah, very grateful for that opportunity, and to be shortlisted. And I wore a Ganni suit, which has since been worn to literally every single event that I go to. Any picture of me that you'll see on my Instagram, I've probably got that suit on. I was wearing it last night to the Graduate Fashion Week.
Anything smart,
yeah,
she's in the Ganni suit.
I will get good use out of this suit. So I wore that, and then I wore a corset top by Bethany Williams.
Yeah.
And then I wore obviously my own shoes, took my shoelace bag, and that was that really.
Stunning.
Yeah. It was nice.
And then another like full circle moment, because I interviewed you about 5 years ago for my magazine, Trash Mag. And I asked you,
oh God.
What did I ask you? I asked, where do you think the brand will be in 5 years' time?
And that's now.
And that's like literally about 5 years ago. So I was just going to read that out. Yeah, I asked you, where would you like to see the brand in 5 years' time? And you said, if I can continue to grow at the speed I am currently, to collaborate, work with and learn from as many people as possible, to get some shoes out there on people's feet and to deliver a message that goes deeper than one pair of shoes, and to inspire some people to think differently about footwear and consumption, that's all I can ask for, really. Oh, and I feel like you've achieved like that and more. So how do you feel hearing that back?
It's funny because I mean, I definitely, sometimes when you're just so in it and you just keep going and going and going, you don't really realise like all the things that you've achieved.
Yeah.
And I think definitely for us, like creating the ready-to-wear sneakers, like that really came out of lockdown because that was the only chance that I had to slow down and stop. And that's when I started, you know, creating our own line of products rather than just always collaborating with brands. So to have a real shoe that people buy and own is very cool, and I feel proud of that. But it's it's nice to hear that back. I think to be honest, I think my answer would probably be the same now.
Yeah.
For the next 5.
Exactly.
Just like keep going, and I definitely feel like my message is getting through in some way within this industry. I think in the early days, probably then, I didn't really understand how I could use my voice to like create change in this industry. Whereas now I think I am doing that, which is really nice. So I guess it would just be more of that and, you know, just keep making cool shoes.
Amazing. And what advice would you have for people who are like, I guess 5 years behind you now? Like, what advice would you give to yourself 5 years ago, do you think? Who, like designers who want to
Have
work?
a day off. No. I think I would say, no, I would actually say have a day off. I think sometimes this industry can promote a very hardcore way of working. And I think do it at your own pace. Like there's no rush. There's no rush to grow. There's no rush to create products. I think do things thoughtfully, and trust your gut. I think it's my gut that has guided me all the way to here. And I think for me, there can be so much noise, especially when you're in this industry. There's so many people giving you their opinion, telling you what they think that you should do, like where to spend your money, what to do. And I think like, listen to advice, listen to, you know, people's opinions, but then like sit with it, resonate, like reflect on it and see what really resonates with you and like follow that path. Because at the end of the day, you are the one with the ideas, you're the one with the kind of creative conscience that's driving that, and you have to do it in a way that works for you. I think you see in this industry so much, people go so hard and then just burn out, and then that's you know, that's the end of their brand. And I think for me, I've really had to learn that in the last few years, like slow down, there's no rush.
Yeah.
And just try to create work that's meaningful to you, I guess.
And enjoy the process
Enjoy
as well.
it. Try and have a nice time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that's something for me. Sometimes I have to remind myself, I'm like, no one forced me to do this. It was my idea.
This is a choice.
I chose this. So just remember that the reasons why you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that obviously there's not like an average day here. As a small business owner, what does it look like here in the studio?
Well, I usually come in, put my incense on.
Smelling gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. Sometimes I cleanse the space with my like Palo Santo, and I'm like,
oh,
good vibes.
A bit of saging.
Yeah, just to, you know, get some good energy in the space. Get my coffee, and then get going. I think I always try and mix the day up between, you know, your things you have to do for the business, like all your admin and that sort of thing, with creative, the creative process. And I actually rearranged the studio when I came back in January to move the machines into a more central place in the studio to kind of remind me that like making is the core of this studio. I think it's very easy to spend the whole day on my laptop and then be like, oh, whoops, I haven't actually done anything creative all day. So for me this year, and my kind of day-to-day routine is definitely make more things with my hands and just like remind myself why I'm doing it all, I guess.
Yeah, I love that, moving the machines. It's like a visual reminder.
Yeah, I come in and I'm like, machines.
Yeah. And my final question is, if in theory the world were to end tomorrow, what would you be wearing to the after party?
Oh, good question. what would I wear? Maybe I'll wear my Ganni suit. Yeah, because that is comfy as well. I think I have two modes, either like the suit or obviously my own trainer's bias, or maybe just like a tracksuit and be comfy. I am quite a homebody. So, and I have like organic basics tracksuits, which I absolutely love. So might just wear a tracksuit,
Amazing.
have my hair in like a messy bun and
Just chilling.
put a face pack on. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you so much.